Hi there, Miss G here. Welcome to middle school. This week's topic is one that strikes fear into the hearts of middle schoolers everywhere. And no, I don't mean the mystery meat in the cafeteria. It's tests. Tests are a big deal in secondary school. At my school, tests are worth half of your grade. This means that you must take them seriously and you must prepare. So what is a test? By now you know tests are large summative assessments that measure how well you gained the knowledge covered in the chapter or unit. A test is going to cover all the lessons that the teacher has covered with you over 2 to 4 weeks. The teacher is not going to give you a grade on this test. You are going to earn a grade on this test, and you are in control of this grade. Your work and your effort at practice and learning will determine your success on this test. You may not like them, but tests are an important part of the school experience. They can continue on into the adult world. Sometimes you must take tests to prove that you can do a job or to get a promotion. Tests are never a surprise. The teacher is going to tell you ahead of time about the test and is going to remind you to study. But what does study mean? Again, studying means practicing the information. But where do you start? It all starts with the work you've already done, with your current grades. First, look at the grades in your folder or online to see the grades you earned on quizzes and homework during the unit. If you see lots of A's and B's, you probably don't need to worry as much as if there are D's or F's. Go through your folder and find any papers with low or poor scores on them. You should first make corrections and make notes of what you missed. If you failed a quiz, which means you probably didn't study, you should put the time in now. If the teacher gave a quiz, it means that information is going to be on the test. So let's start with how we actually study. First of all, the teacher might give you a study guide for that test. The study guide is going to provide you practice test questions or lists of topics to help you focus exactly what's going to be on it. The practice test, if it's in the form of a practice test, you should take it as if it were a test. Go ahead and try it without looking at notes, without looking at the book. Try the questions as if you were actually taking the test. Then, when you go over the answers or check them, then you'll know exactly what you need to study. You should study smarter, not harder. Don't waste your time going over and over questions and words and topics that you already know the answer to or that you've already gotten an A on. Take the items or topics you missed and create some kind of study aid to help you learn it. We talked in a previous video about double column notes, where you have the words or the vocabulary on one side or questions on one side and the answers on the other side of the paper folded. Of course, there's always traditional flashcards where you write the word on the one side and the definition on the other. Question flashcards or having someone quiz you on the questions you missed is a great practice study. Play or review until you can get most of them right. Another strategy is to make 2 piles or to make marks on the double column notes every time you get it right or if you miss it. Let's say you flash the cards and you end up with a pile of cards that you really know the answers to very well. You would set those aside and only focus on the ones on the cards that you're not familiar with or that you keep missing. Make sure that you know your vocabulary. You cannot go wrong on a test studying vocabulary. If you can't read the words and understand the choices, the answer choices provided on the test, you're not very likely to be able to actually get those questions right. You might get confused easily. So make sure you know what all the words mean. Now, there's different kinds of tests. I just mentioned multiple choice tests. Sometimes you take math tests, and sometimes in science there are math problems on your science test. Math tests require vocabulary because you must be able to read and understand what the question is saying to you. Then you also have to know the steps to solving the problem, and you needed to hopefully have some practice solving each of those different types of questions. Make sure you look again at your grades and your homework to see which questions you missed. Those are the ones you need to spend the most time on. Those are the ones you need to study. Make sure during the review in school that you ask the teacher for help on the questions that you missed. You ask he or she for clarification, or you ask them to re-explain or go over that topic or problem again. Another type of question you might see on a test or a style of test is a short answer or essay test. Short answer questions can be tough, but you can earn points by answering the questions completely. Often these are multi-questions, so they're asking you to provide one answer and then explain your answer. Make sure that you do both. Make sure you use complete sentences and write using proper capitalization and punctuation. Write more than you think you need to say, but don't go too overboard. The point of a short answer is to see if you really understand it. One tip that can help you with short answer and essay questions is to scan the multiple choice or other sections of the test to see if there's vocabulary and phrases that you could use in your short answer. Giving very short responses to essay questions is not a good idea. If you really understand the question or a topic, you should be able to chat about it for a while. You should be able to go on and give details and relate it to other things. Again, don't go too far, but there's a good middle ground there where you've explained yourself and you've demonstrated you know something about the question, and hopefully you'll get a great job written next to your answer. So, how are you going to prepare for your next test? First of all, make sure you plan and give some study time, just a little bit each day leading up to the test. Typically, teachers tell you at least a week in advance. So make sure you spend some time each night studying. It should be on your to-do list or in your planner every day, again, from the day the teacher tells you until the day you take the test. Make sure that you study in short bursts. I recommend to my students that they study their vocabulary words or practice a section for about 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and then take a break and do something else, do another type of homework, get up, do a task, move around, and then come back to it again. Take breaks. Rotate where you start. Don't always keep your cards or your double column notes in the same order. Pick a new or different place to start, shuffle them. So shuffle your cards. So we tend to remember the first thing we look at and the last thing we look at, so we do want to rotate those things around. Make sure that you give yourself extra time with difficult material, and probably the best tip of all is to make sure that you're getting sleep and rest after your study sessions, and especially the night before the test. Your brain needs sleep to process and put the information you gained into long-term memory. And you're not going to be able to read the test and answer the questions with a clear mind if you're very sleepy or tired. If you're taking a test, or if you've already taken a test or two and it's going well, keep up the good work and keep using the strategies you're using. If your quizzes and tests so far have kind of been a disappointment, why don't you try some of my tips? You never know. They might help. So I just want to thank you for joining me today. Make sure you like this video and share it with a parent or friend. Hopefully you can ace your next test by putting in some study time and taking charge of your learning. If you have any hints or suggestions that I've forgotten, leave them in the comments, and remember that your questions could end up the topic of our next video. So until then, happy studying.